It's super dark because we just got out of Guardians of the Galaxy Volume 3, but I'm pulling a nerd on a budget and doing a sketchy Facebook marketplace deal and going to QT to meet up to get a 1080 Ti, so we'll see what's up in a second. So today we're heading to pick up the 1080 Ti. Last night got the MSI 1080. This is the eBay auction I won for the EVGA 1080 Ti. It was available for a local pickup, so I figured that would be save me $20 from shipping and just go grab it. So I'm going to QT to meet this dude right now. Well, that was easy. He showed up a little early and handed me the card. I let him scan the code, and here it is. No box or anything, so that's kind of a bummer, but okay, so some of you may be wondering why I have a 1080 and a 1080 Ti sitting in front of me when the last time we talked, if you tuned into my stream last week or have watched it on demand since then or seen the poll on my community page, I've been talking about doing an AMD build. So what gives with two, at this point, relatively ancient NVIDIA cards? And there's no easy answer, to be honest. It all boils down to I wanted to make a video, and I wanted to make a video that I believe in. That sounds kind of harsh on AMD, and I like to troll people online, and I talk a lot of smack about AMD, but I don't hate them. You know, the 6700 XT that my girlfriend has running has given her no problems at all. It's been a great card for her. But I really wanted to do a 7600, and I really wanted to do it in an AM5 build. And there's a good bundle at Micro Center that we talked about in the stream last week. You know, it's $450, and you get a 7700X, and you get 32 gigs of DDR5 RAM, and you get an MSI motherboard. The thing is, it's not really the motherboard that I would pick, that particular one. Like, I don't have a problem with the MSI, but just this particular one. And the RAM, it's decent, but it's G-Skill 6,000 mega transfers, but it's like, I think it's CL40. And there's better RAM than that, and DDR5 is starting to come down. Even the processor itself is starting to come down. So I feel like I want to wait on AM5. There's also this looming murky business about the CPUs melting down and whatnot. And I think that's largely relegated to the X3D chips, which I wasn't going to do an X3D chip. I wasn't going to push it like that. I think a 7700X is plenty. You know, if I was trying to push max frames in 1080p, I'd probably consider the 7800 X3D, but that's not really my goal. So I still want to do an AMD build, but I think I'm going to wait. I may still pick up the 7600. If it comes in around $300, I might pick one up. But I'm thinking that maybe in the fall or the latter part of the year, if they release a 7800 and the AM5 board prices and the CPU prices come down a little bit more, maybe it might make a little bit more sense for me. So I still want to do it. I'm kind of putting it on hiatus right now. I just didn't want to spend that kind of money and encourage you guys to do it. I mean, you certainly can if you want to. There's nothing wrong with that. I just feel like it's a little bit, that's just my personal opinion. The AM5 platform seems a little bit wonky right now. I still feel like we're in the early adoption phase. I'm just going to give it some more time. So then I thought about, and we talked about doing AM4. And that platform is so old that there's some idiosyncrasies that popped up when I was trying to find parts. And then I thought, do I want to pair the newest gen GPU with the last gen CPU and platform? And I don't know, I'd rather just do it with AM5. But the wonkiness with AM4 is that, again, Micro Center has a really good deal for, I think it was a 5600, and I think it was also, again, an MSI micro ATX motherboard. It was like $200. But reading the comments, or the reviews rather, on Micro Center, it turns out that this board doesn't actually ship with the BIOS that will work with a 5600 CPU. So I could certainly do a BIOS flashback on it. I'm just not sure for the purposes of this series that I wanted to... I want the viewers to be able to watch this. I want you to be able to watch this video, these build videos, and go out and repeat it. And I kind of learned with the original budget build that we did earlier in the year, where I did have to do the BIOS flashback, or the Q flash on the Gigabyte board. It wasn't that hard once I figured it out, but it was kind of a learning curve. And I think if you're a beginning PC builder, I don't want to throw that hurdle in front of you. Maybe on your second build or your third build or something, if you want to try and save some money by going, last generation motherboard with current CPU, like you can do with a 13th gen. Like you can put a 13th gen CPU on a Z690 as opposed to Z790. Might be better off just like your second time around. So just all these kind of factors around AMD, I was like, you know what? I've got this i3 13100F left over from the budget build, because we upgraded that to the 13600K. So I've got a CPU, and that got me thinking, like, what would pair well with this? And I saw a post in my Facebook group. A dude had bought a 980. And people were kind of dogging him for buying a 980. And he was like, oh, it's fine for what I want to use it for and whatnot. And I've got this thing in my head where I want to like collect all the 80 series. And I was like, oh yeah, man, that's cool. I kind of want to get a 1080. I have never had a 1080. And then along with thinking about my i3 here, I was like, wait a second. Is this? And I went and I looked up to some stats, and it turns out I was right. So the 1080 came out May 27th of 16. And the 1080 Ti came out March 10th of 17. So, this one is 7 years old at this point. This one's 6 years old at this point. But I went back and looked, and I was like, well, what was a powerful gaming computer or gaming CPU? What would have paired well with a 1080 or a 1080 Ti back in 2016, 2017? And the answer I kept coming up with was an i7 7700. Well, what is an i7 7700? It's a 4-core, 16-thread CPU, just like my current i3. So the 13100F has a base clock of 3.6 gigahertz versus 3.4 on the 7700. And the 13100 also boosts to 4.5 gigahertz, and the 7700 boosts to 4.2. So essentially, this i3 is a little bit better version of what would have been a great match for these when they were new. And so just thinking about, okay, I've already got this, and I kind of want to finish this collection and get the rest of these 80 series. I started looking, and it was real spur of the moment, but this EVGA guy was on eBay, and the auction was ending in 45 minutes. The bid was at like $135 or something, and it was available for local pickup, so I wouldn't have even had to wait to have it shipped necessarily. So I was like, oh, I'll throw a bid in there. And so I put in a bid, a max bid of $150, and I just let it ride. And 45 minutes later, I got the email that I won $144. That's pretty good. I mean, that's a lot of GPU for $144. I mean, don't get it twisted. It is old, and I don't know that you're really going to push 1440p or 4K with it. You know, when this came out, it was a 4K card for the games that were out then, but for modern titles, you know, probably not going to do 4K with this. But what else are you going to get for $140? And that was a really good price for this. Most of the time I see these selling for around $200. What else are you going to get for $140? You could get an ARC A380, new. You could buy an RX 580. Or, well, you could buy one of those new RX 580s that's really like a 570 for 80 or 90 bucks. Or a real RX 580 on the used marketplaces are going for about 140 bucks, 120 bucks. So that's an option. But that's an 8 gigabyte card and not as good as a 1080 Ti. You could potentially get a 1660 Super, which in some ways is faster than this, but a 1660 Super only has 6 gigabytes of VRAM. And the 1660 Super does have GDDR6 though, whereas this still has GDDR5X. But this has 11 gigabytes. So I think that's one of the things that's helped this card stick around is the 11 gigabytes of VRAM. And, you know, this thing has 35... Let me look here. I forget now. So the 1080 is a GP104 die. The 1080 Ti is a GP102 die. This has 8 gigabytes of GDDR5X, and this has 11 gigabytes of GDDR5X. 2560 CUDA cores. And the 1080 Ti has 1,000 more, 3584 CUDA cores. I'd have to, I don't know why I didn't write this down on my little cheat sheet here, but I want to say that we got to get all the way up to a 3060 before we get up to 3500 CUDA cores again. I may be wrong. Correct me in the comments. But at any rate, in terms of overall speed and, you know, performance, this guy is about equal to a 2070, maybe a 2070 Super, 5700 XT. So still fairly capable. And so it got me thinking, you know what, I've got a lot of indie games that I haven't even played yet. And there's a lot of older games, like I constantly replay the Rocksteady Batman games. And, you know, the newest one of those came out in 2017, so those will run fine on either one of these cards. There's a lot of older games that I like to play that these will do fine on. And so we'll see. And overall, I just want to do a new build and use some of what I had. So I spiraled out of control here for a little bit. I wanted to do a build based around the 13100F. I wanted an older, I wanted to at least collect an older 80 series GPU. So that's kind of what put all this in motion. So I've got the 13100F. We'll go through the build list now. So we're going to do the 13100F. And I'm going to use both of these for benchmarking purposes, just for funsies. So I'm going to put in the 980 first, or the 980. We're going to do the 1080 first and see what it does, and then we'll throw the 1080 Ti in and see what it does. So we're going to run this build with both of these GPUs. I'm in love with the Crucial P3s. So I got another 1 terabyte Crucial P3. It's Gen 3 M.2 NVMe, which is plenty. You know, the Gen 4 drives are much faster. The Gen 5 drives even faster still. But for gaming, you just really don't need it. Even content creation, I'm going to take this video and I'm going to go back and I'm going to edit it off of one of these, off of a 2 terabyte Crucial P3. And I'm shooting in 4K right now, and everything is going to go, it's going to be just fine. I might save a minute or something if I upgraded to a Gen 4 drive. So it's just really not a big deal. So this was like $44. These are just getting stupid cheap. I mean, just ridiculously cheap. And then I went with, I've been in love with Team Group RAM. It just runs so well. And it's cheap and it looks good. So this is DDR4 3600 CL18. So CL18 is not the best. This is about as fast, effective speed as 3200 CL16. But for this, I got this was. I'll update the prices for sure in the comments, but I want to say that this was 40. Both of these were like $44 or $46. For RGB, decently fast DDR4 RAM, 16 gigabyte kit. Just felt like I couldn't go wrong here. And then we're going to unbox this bad boy in a moment. The Montech Sky 2. I saw this case on a video, I don't know, several months ago now, and I was like, man, that is really cool. And then after I saw the video, I actually saw one in Micro Center, one of the blue ones, and I thought, man, I do really like that. So I've been wanting to build in this case for a while. They've come down a little bit in price. These cases have been $110 to $130 for the ones that are not black. The white one and the really cool kind of looking blue one. And Micro Center had a white one in stock, and it was $100, and I got it for my birthday. So we're gonna build in the Sky 2. And so, as I just mentioned, it's white. I have this idea in my head, and I think it's gonna come together pretty well. So don't judge me too harshly until you see it put together. But I'm not doing, obviously, an all-white build. I actually don't like the all-white builds. I just think it's too much. So for contrast's sake, I'm going to do a black and white build. So the case is white, and then I've got a lot of, this is going to be under heatsink, but this is black. You know, the RAM is black with a little RGB on it. You'll see my cooler, I'm going to unbox in a second, is black. The motherboard's black. So I'm going to put all the black in the white case, and then for some extra white for a little bit of contrast inside, I'm actually going to swap the power supply. I'm going to use this power supply, which is currently in the Ultimate Gaming, the budget PC. Why? Because I found a really good deal on an ATX 3.0 power supply that's also 750 watts. A Segotep. That's supposed to come in tomorrow. I'm going to do a video separate on that and show you guys that thing because it's pretty awesome. So I'm going to use the Segotep in the Ultimate Budget build with the 4070. And I'm going to swap the Corsair over into the new build. And I had bought some custom, well, not custom, but some aftermarket, if you will, cables from Corsair that are white and black. So all the components on the inside of the case will be black, but the wires are going to be white and black inside the white case. And then with the little bit of RGB we're going to have on the RAM and the fans, you know, we could do that. I'm thinking white is going to look good with that. Or with the 980 or the 1080 in there. I don't know why I keep calling 980. With the 1080 in there and the red, we could do some red on the RGB. So we'd be looking at white, black, and red. We'll see. I mean, this doesn't have a ton of red on it. You know, it's going to sit horizontally. And maybe a little bit of this, you know, you can see there in the caps here, but so just options. So let's take a look. So very similar to what we did in the Ultimate Gaming PC. We had a B660M for that one. Well, I talked about not wanting to do the Q Flash again, so I just went ahead and got the B760. So we're already set up for 13th gen. And this is just a great board. It's $120, which, again, AM5 doesn't really have any budget boards yet. At least not that I have found. There was one for $80, but it was like so stripped down, it had nothing. It was not even worth $80. So this has some good connectivity. It's a Wi-Fi board. Right price. This is gonna be good. I think this is gonna be my go-to, my standby are these this DS3H. Gigabyte has made these for several generations now. You know, you get a little bit if you're really gonna go for overclock. You know, want some more connectivity and features. You know, the Z690, Z790, those boards are a little bit better in those terms, but the B series boards are a real good middle ground in terms of price to performance. So we went with that again. I say again because, you know, it's basically the same thing. We'll show that off more when we get to the build video. And then, in keeping with the theme of doing the all black build, so I got another AK400. We have an AK400. The AK400 was originally what I replaced the stock box cooler on the i3 with, and it's currently on the 13600. But instead of getting the normal one, I got the, what do they call it, the zero dark, the AK400 zero dark. So it's just all blacked out. So again, we're going to do white on the outside, all blacked out on the inside, with some white cables for some contrast, and some different RGB for some contrast. Okay, so let's get into the unboxing of the case. I'm so pumped for this. I just love the way this thing looks. It's kind of sort of a rip-off of a 011D, I suppose. Remember, keep your foam and your box intact and keep them for your case. Because if you ever move or want to, God forbid, ship this PC, once it's all assembled, you know, you can put some expanding foam in there. You can put this back on, and you can put the tower back in the box that it came in, and move it a little bit more securely than just wrapping it in moving blankets or whatever you would otherwise do. I don't even know. Here, let's put this upside, or right side up. We'll keep the plastic too, for future's sake. So, here it is. I just really like this thing. It's pretty sturdy. It's supposed to be a budget case, but it really, the fit and finish on it is better than most budget cases out there. Montech is really killing the case game, in my opinion. You know, it comes with the 4 fans. Let's take this side panel off. One thing I don't like is these screws are not captive, so that's kind of a bummer. The Air 100 ARGB is like that as well, unfortunately. My really only detraction from these two cases. Oh no, that one doesn't want to come out. careful because it's tempered glass. Real easy to break if you drop it on its corner. So yeah, we've got this glass panel in the front to see through, the glass panel on the side to see through, with the fans here. And they, if you notice, the fan blades have the reverse pitch on them because these are actually intake fans. But in order to have the pretty side facing out that you can see, they just reverse the pitch on the fan blades so that they'll be intake fans but still look cool. And then this is, I don't want to say it's a bummer, but it's cool that they include an extra fan, but this one mounts on the bottom and gives more intake through the bottom, through like the PSU shroud. So it is the reverse fan orientation like this. But I kind of wish, because the only exhaust fan we have right now is this back one, I kind of wish that instead of being down here, I could mount it on top and have it be exhaust. But the reviews and the videos that I've watched, it looks like this thing cools just fine. Probably despite this, or in spite of this one, I don't think that this actually helps at least cool the GPU very much. I mean, it kind of makes sense logically, like thinking about, oh, we're going to pull air in from the bottom and feed the GPU with it. But I think the couple of videos that I saw where they measured GPU temperature difference, it was maybe like a degree. So not nothing, but not really statistically significant either. So it would be cool if maybe you had the option to mount it up top. And then so you can see the intake vents on the back side here for those fans. Let's pull the back panel off. If I understood this correctly, the plug for the front panel connections, instead of being that spaghetti mess with all the individual single pin connections, supposedly on this case and some other newer cases, oh, and this dust filter comes off on the inside there. One of these is supposed to be the front panel. That's ARGB. The front panel already all wired up. It looks like you. Oh, right here. That's USB. This is for the front panel right here. That's awesome. That is literally my worst nightmare, trying to get my fingers in there to put those little individual things on. So this might be a godsend. We'll see how well it actually works, but yeah. The four fans are controlled by this one doohickey does it all fan hub. So it's got ARGB connections on the top and the PWM on the bottom. I'm hoping, since I just bought this, that this is the second generation hub here, because some of the previous reviews that I've watched from a few months ago, there's an issue with some of these where it'll either run at minimum speed or maximum speed and nothing in between. And if you have that issue, Montech will send you a new fan hub for free and take care of you. But I'm kind of hoping that I don't have to worry about that and that this one just works. But we've got two trays here for SATA drives. We've got a screw box here, HDD drive bay, and this is pretty cool here. This I can't get that back in there. This channel for the wiring here. This looks like cable management is going to be pretty decent. And I'm not going to use a hard drive. I'm going to have just the M.2 So I'll probably just pull this cage out so that I've got more room for activities in the bottom here with the power supply cables. And then with that channel here, I think this is going to cable manage really well. I'm really looking forward to building this. In fact, I might get started after I'm done recording this video. So I think this is going to be really cool. We got a cool looking case. We got a good power supply. We've got a real good budget CPU. Some old school muscle in the graphics card department. And then the best part is with that B760, sorry, you can always upgrade like we did with the original budget PC. You can throw 13600K in there, no problem, and have 90% of the performance of a 13900K. And all you gotta do is swap the CPU out. And probably a better cooler. So the good thing about this build is that with the B760, you can upgrade that 13100F to a 13600K or a 13700K and run on that motherboard just fine. And then we're going to have, the 1080 Ti in here. You can upgrade your GPU, but you got a cool case, you've got decent power supply. You kind of got the bare bones of a good upgradable system, just like we had with the original budget build. And altogether, I think I was looking at about $700 for this build, just counting the 1080 Ti, not the extraneous 1080. So that's a pretty good price point to get into a pretty decent budget entry-level system. And you could shave several more dollars off of that. This case was $100. I've been seeing the Air 100s available for $60. Newegg just had the Fractal Pop Mini for $59.99. That's a great micro ATX case. Other Montechs, the X3 Mesh is like a $60, $70 case. There's an Antec case that was like $70. So you can shave $30, $40 off easy just from the case. If you don't get a fully modular power supply, you can save a few bucks. So you can get this down to probably much closer to $600. And then have future upgrade paths like crazy. So next time you see this thing, we're going to be putting stuff in it. Hit me up in the comments. Let me know what you think. Shoot me a like. Give me a subscription, please. Remember, we're trying to shoot for 500 subs by the time I get to LTX. Doesn't cost you anything, but helps me out a ton. I appreciate you. Mag out.